Namaste everyone. Our online study class, Saturday study classes are going on very well. And last topic we discussed is Shiva Sankalpa Suktam. Swamiji has kindly agreed to take another beautiful Suktam called Aikamatya Suktam. And this comes in Rig Veda. And this is the last Sukta of the Rig Veda. There are total 1028 Suktas in Rig Veda, consisting of 10,552 mantras. And this is the first Shabda Rashi, the first sound the world heard. This Aikamatya Suktam also is called Samvada Suktam. This is of great relevance in the present times. This Sukta talks about the unity of intellect, the buddhi, thinking together, aiming together for a higher goal. It should not be mistaken for uniformity. This Aikamatya unity is essential to build a strong rastram, to build a strong social relation, and even to build a strong family relation. Any split or any division is painful and has to be avoided. It also doesn't mean everyone should think in the same line or preach in the same line. There is freedom of thought is there. We are indeed grateful for Swamiji for imparting this great knowledge to us. And we are keeping the Shiva Sankalpam that Swamiji will continue our classes in the coming days also. And this Aikamatya Suktam also is written by Swamiji in a small booklet, which is already translated into English and which is available for any of you if you want. Today, Mrs. Jyoti Menon is going to chant the Aikamatya Suktam. Namaste.
Namaste one and all. Pranam Swamiji. Om Samsamityuvase vrishannagne vishwanyarya a ilaspate samidhyase sano vasunyabhara Sangachatvam samvadatvam samvo manamsi janata Deva bhagam yada purve sanjnana upasate Samano manassamidis samani Samanam manassahat chittamesham Samanam mandramabhimantrayeva Samanena vo havisha juhomi Samaniva akuti samana hridayani vaha Samanamastu vo mano yadhavasu sahasati Samanamastu vo mano yadhavasu sahasati Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam. Oh. In this series of satsangas, we have discussed many topics, and in our last session, we were discussing Shiva Sankalpa Sukta. It's a part of Shukla Yajurveda. And in the beginning, we have seen a brief introduction of Vedas. What is the meaning of Veda? And when we are saying Vedas, what is the difference? That is, Veda as the knowledge absolute, and the text in which or through which we are receiving that. When we are taking the Shabda Veda, in the sense the highest knowledge, it is only one. There are no two Vedas. Veda is one. Knowledge is one. But when it is imparted to the humanity at large by different rishis, it took the form of different granthas, and these are many. There is a saying, Anantaha vai Vedaha. That means Vedas are innumerable. We cannot count how many Vedas are there, because many rishis, out of pure love and compassion, they imparted this knowledge, or they exhorted unto the world what they have realized. And this was transferred from one generation to another. And through this transference, there were innumerable Vedas. That is why it is said, Anantaha vai Vedaha. But still, certain divisions are there. And as per the style of teaching, or based on how this Veda was taught, there are three divisions. They are Rig, Yajus, and Sama. But when we are taking the compilations of different mantras, then there are four: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda. And again, Yajurveda itself is divided into two branches: Krishna Yajurveda and Shukla Yajurveda. So when we are considering these two divisions of Yajurveda, there are 5 Vedas. or 5 divisions of Vedas, namely Rig Veda, Krishna Yajurveda, Shukla Yajurveda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. All these were preserved and protected by the lineage of our acharyas. Actually, these were not written. Students used to recite, and they kept in their memory. From that, they imparted that knowledge to the next generation. So it was the style how Vedas spread. And as a result of this style of teaching, naturally different branches developed. And there were many branches. For example, as per the Mukti-Upanishad, there were 1,180 branches in total. And if we are analyzing that aspect, we will get an important knowledge which we have to consider in this life again and again. What is that? See, the first Veda, or when we are considering the divisions of Veda, all great acharyas will definitely consider Rig Veda first. Then only they will count the other Vedas. Many mantras which we are seeing in Yajurveda, that is Krishna Yajurveda, and almost all mantras, not all, almost all mantras coming in Sama Veda, and many mantras of Atharva Veda are there in the Rig Veda. It is the main source of all other Vedas. So it is considered the first. And in this Rig Veda, there were 21 branches. 21 branches means there were 21 different versions. Mantras will be same, almost the same. Of course, some Patha Vedas will be there. And the order of mantras, or the number of mantras in a particular sukta, that will change. The total number of mantras, there will be no change. But the order and some Patha Vedas, all these are there in different branches, shakhas. So, in the same way, there were 109 branches for Yajurveda. And within Samaveda itself, there were 1,000 branches. And for Atharva Veda, there were 50 branches. Of course, there are different opinions in this. That is regarding the number of branches. There are different opinions. For example, now we have seen the version of Mukti Upanishad. But Bhagavan Patanjali, while writing the Mahabhashya of Panini, Patanjali says there were 1,129 branches. So there are some differences regarding the number of branches. And we can conclude that differences are because of that time difference. That is the time of Patanjali and the time in which Muktikopanishad was written. We cannot say when Muktikopanishad manifested, we cannot say that, because Vedas and all parts of Vedas, naturally Upanishads, all these were transferred from one generation to another, not through books, not through written forms. So when they were written, of course some additions will happen. And according to that change in the time, at the time of Patanjali, there were 1,129 branches. And when Muktikopanishad was written, there were 1,180 branches. There is not a big problem. But the matter we have to focus is, there were 21 branches for Rig Veda. For both Krishna Yajurveda and Shukla Yajurveda together, there were 1,109 branches. And for Atharva Veda, there were 50 branches. So there is a parity. There is no that much difference. 21, 50 to 57 like that, and 50. Whereas number of branches for Samaveda was 1,000. There is a huge difference. And the number of Samaveda, as described by Bhagavan Patanjali and Muktikopanishad, are the same. Both says there were 1,000 branches. This shows, see, basically Samaveda was in the music form. It was song, in the song form. It will attract everybody. That is the greatness of music and songs. When we are teaching through prose, of course, those who want to learn, they will learn, they will study, they will try to memorize, and they will memorize, and they will teach. There is no difference of opinion. And it will be much easier when that same teaching is given in poems. When it is written in poetry, it will be easier to learn and to memorize. Because poem will penetrate deep, directly into our heart. Whereas prose won't go like that. And see, when it is a music, melodious song, then it will attract everybody. Even though we do not know the meaning, even though we cannot cognize even the words, even then that melodious music will attract everybody. That is the reason, or that will be the reason behind the 1,000 branches of Samaveda. Because common folk used to chant that. Common people used to sing that. So when many people are singing, naturally some differences in versions will happen. Because when we are singing some song, and if we are forgetting actually what are there in that verse, then in that place we will put some other words according to that matter in which it is written. And this is how this is not a finally approved concept. This is only a proposition. This may be the reason behind the number of Samaveda, how it grew that much. Because there is no proportion at all. When for Rig Veda, Krishna Yajurveda, Shukla Yajurveda and Atharva Veda, there were branches lesser than 60. Number of branches in Samaveda, it grew to that much a bigger proportion, like 1,000 branches. So what we have to learn from this is, we have to spread as much as we can. When this knowledge is spread among the common society, of course there will be interpolations. There will be some additions and some deletions. Let it happen. But this will flourish. This will spread in the society. So it is our duty to learn Vedas and spread as much as we can. Because this is the very foundation of Sanatana Dharma. It is on this Veda, the whole edifice of Sanatana Dharma is built. So it is our duty, if we are longing to preserve and protect and spread Sanatana Dharma, the first duty is to spread Vedas. How we can spread Vedas? There is only one way, and that is learning and teaching. Learning and teaching. Swadhyaya and pravachana. Swadhyaya and pravachana. There is no other way. There is no other way. If we are printing millions of books and keeping, of course it will be preserved in a way, but it is not the way to protect Vedas or to protect Sanatana Dharma. It will become ornaments in the libraries. But the way to preserve and protect Sanatana Dharma is learning and teaching. Swadhyaya and pravachana. This is the only way. So from time immemorial, we can see great rishis, great acharyas, out of their love and compassion, they shared that knowledge with the world. They didn't keep that in dark rooms. Unto the world they exhorted. They called aloud, Srinandu Vishwe Amritasya Putraha. O children of immortality, you come and hear, you learn. This was their clarion call. So in this way, the spreading of Vedas happened. And as we have seen, Rig Veda is considered the first. It is the first Veda. And see, those who realized or unto whom these Vedas were manifested, they are called rishis. And the Rig Veda, there are many rishis. Many rishis are there. they realized, and from that realization they taught, they exhorted to the world. And that is how these Vedas spread. See, we have seen the meaning of Veda Shabda in our last study. That is while we were studying this Shiva Sankalpa Suktam. However, in the beginning of this, let us repeat once more. The Shabda Veda comes from the root vid jnane. That means the meaning of vid dhatu is to know. To know. So when a suffix ghany is added with that, it will make the Shabda Veda. So that would mean knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of everything. What this world is, and what is the real cause of this, and who is controlling all this, and who am I? What is my real nature? What is the goal of this human life in this earth, and how I can reach that? So all these aspects are explained, and that is why it is called Veda, knowledge. Vid jnane. And there is another dhatu with sattaya. That means existence. So from the very beginning of our life, that is, when this human being manifested in the world, even from that point, the world we are seeing around us, it was a riddle. What this is? What is this? Because I am seeing this world around me. What is this? From which this world came? Or what is the base or cause of all manifestations? Even though I am seeing almost everything is different in nature, different in activities, all sorts of differences I am seeing around. Nothing is same as another. Nothing is there in this world. Each have its own individuality. Even a piece of stone, or a tip of a grass, or a fly or a mosquito. Even these small beings I am seeing around me has their own individuality. No duplication is here. Nothing is there, duplicate. So what is the rule behind all this? Who is holding all these things together? And even though I am seeing all sorts of differences, there is some law or some scheme, some order which is binding everything together, which is holding everything together. There is a scheme, there is an order. This I cannot negate. And because of this scheme, Everything is held together. And what is that? What is that law? What is that scheme? And if there is a law, there must be a lawgiver. If things are being protected, there must be a protector. Who or he be? Who is that? Who is that Ishvara? And I am thinking all this. I am questioning all this. I am doing this quest. Who am I? What is my real nature? So these questions were there in human being from the very beginning. So what is that existence which is making all this phenomenal world? What is that existence which gives existences to all these manifestations? So these questions were there. When we are taking Veda as to mean with the Satyam existence, it would mean knowledge of that existence. So first meaning is knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of absolute existence. And there is another dhatu with the labhe. With the labhe. It is labha. What we are getting. What is the goal where we have to reach? For what we are living here? For many things. There are different purusharthas. But the quest for happiness, the quest for getting rid of all sorrows in this life, it won't stop by getting this and that objects of the world. Even when we are amassing much wealth of the world, different objects of the world, that thirst for getting more and more will be there. Satisfaction is not there. So that absolute emancipation or the fullest satisfaction, how I can get that? How I can get that? So Vedas are showing that path. Vedas are showing that path. Yalabdhva chaparam labham manyate nadhigam tataha. Getting what? We will not strive for anything else. What is that? That is the emancipation. That is the liberation from all needs and greeds, all requirements. We are becoming fully satisfied. Established in one's own fullness. That we are getting through Vedas, and it is the real meaning of, or the highest meaning of Vedas. And how we can get this Veda? How we can have this Veda? There is another dhatu with vicharane. With vicharane. Vicharanam is contemplating. It is contemplation. So this knowledge we can have through proper contemplation. But to contemplate, we have to hear first. We have to hear from first. So through Sravana, that is hearing from a competent guru, from one who knew, who has that knowledge with it, who is full with that knowledge, from him we have to hear first. And after hearing, we have to contemplate again and again, ruminate what we have heard. This vicharana is the way to have this Veda. So with vicharana. So this Veda, basically the meaning we have to take as knowledge. Knowledge of the existence, knowledge of everything. This was realized by rishis. Or in other words, Vedas were revealed to them. They heard the Vedas. Vedas were heard by them. And that is why Vedas are also called Shruti. Shruyate iti. And when we are taking the Shabda Veda as to mean knowledge, as we have seen earlier, there is only one Veda. And according to the style of teaching, they were different. And the different Vedas were categorized into 4 divisions. And the first is Rig Veda. In the Pratishakya, that is Rigvediya Pratishakya of Shaunaka, it is said Richam Samuhaha Rigvedaha. What is Rigveda? Shaunaka defines Rigveda as Richam Samuhaha Rigvedaha. So Rigveda is a collection of rigs. Collection of rigs. And what is rig? Rigs are mantras which were written or spoken in specific meters. That is rig. When they were taught in prose form, without specific meters, it is not rig. So rigs are those mantras which were written or spoken in specific meters, like Gayatri, Anushtupa, Trishtupa. So many meters are there. That depends on the number of syllables and the number of padas, lines. So how many syllables are there in one line and how many lines are there? So accordingly, this will be divided in different chandas. This is a subject matter of Chando Shastra. Chandas is the science dealing with meters. For example, when there are 8 syllables in one single line and 4 lines are there, it is called Anushtup. And when there are 8 syllables in 3 lines, it is Gayatri. Like that. So many rigs were there, so many chandases were there. All mantras all mantras which were presented in specific or particular meters are called rigs. And a collection of rigs is called Rig Veda. We have seen there were 21 branches for Rig Veda. The first Samhita is known as Shakala Samhita. It is written by Shaunaka Maharshi. Before going further, we have to have a peep onto the greatness of Shaunaka Maharshi. He wrote Rigvediya Pradishakya. It's a wonderful text. It's a wonderful text. See, there are different styles of writings. There are prose, there are poems, and there are sutras. Three different styles are there in Sanskrita. Poems are in meters, specific meters. Prose are without that style, or without any restriction we are writing. And the style of sutra is different. There is no any rule. A sutra can be written in only one syllable, one akshara, or we can write many aksharas. But the message which we are transferring or we are expressing, that must be presented in lesser words as we can. That is, we have to write using minimal number of aksharas. That is the first quality of a sutra. Minimal number of shabdas. Alpaksharam. There are many other qualities also, but this is the first. So there are sutras, there are poems, there are prose. But the greatness of this Pradishakya, Rigvediya Pradishakya, which was written by Maharshi Shaunaka, is that it is beautiful poems. But when we are dividing, there are many sutras. Or in other words, sutras put together will make poems. See the wonder, how great it is. That is the greatness of the style of Rigvediya Pradishakya. That means when sutrams are put together, it will make poem. And when poem is divided, it will make sutras. It's a most wonderful style of writing. So in this, he writes different aspects of Rig Veda. What are the special Vyakarana Siddhanta, that is the theories of Vyakarana used in Rig Veda. What are the Chandas used in Rig Veda? And different Shabdas used in Rig Veda. All these things are discussed in this Shaunakiya, Rigvediya Pradishakyam. Shaunakiya Pradishakyam or Rigvediya Pradishakyam. So in that it is said, Rigveda is a collection of Rigs, that is Rijam Samuha Rigveda. And Shakala learned this first. That means there were different rigs, and many scholars were there who were studying this. So some Guru Parampara, some lineages of Gurus, they will teach, they will learn different rigs. But Shakala, for the first time, he learned all these rigs and he compiled. So before Shakala, there were Rigveda. We cannot say he made Rigveda. No. Rigveda was there even before Shakala. But there was no such a compilation. Some suktas were within some Guru Shishya Parampara. Some other suktas were within some other Guru Parampara. So it was spread like that. And the great sage Shakala, he learned all this. He compiled all this. So Shaunaka says, Prayatnataha tam abhyasya. Prayatnataha means with effort, with much effort. It was not an easy thing. Because in the present day world, what are there in the society at different places, we can compile very easily. Because internet is there, computers are there, and books are easily accessible. We can travel to different libraries and different universities. So it is much easier nowadays. But imagine thousands and thousands of years back. How many thousands years back we cannot say. What was the period of sage Shakala we cannot say. So just imagine what a great task he undertook. So it is said prayatnataha. With effort, he learned all these rigs. And he learned that. And after him, there were many who learned from him. So first Samhita of Rigveda is Shakala Samhita. That was the first Shakha. That was the first Patha. It is considered so. But we must not say Shakala, he wrote these mantras. No. Even before Shakala, mantras were there. But with effort, he learned all these mantras. He learned all these mantras. And after him, naturally his students, his disciples, they spread this Rigveda. And there were 5 prominent disciples like Bashkala, Ashulayana, Shishira, Shankhya, and Vatsya. So these 5 were prominent disciples of Shakala, and with little deviations. Rig Veda spread through them. So there was Bashkala Shakha, there was Ashwalayana, like that. But all these comes from one Shakala. And even now Shakala Shakha is being preserved. And the Rig Veda, the version of Rig Veda, which we are studying nowadays, and for which Sayana wrote commentaries, Bhashya, that is Shakala Shakha. So it is even now it is preserved. That is the most authenticative Rig Veda Shakha, Shakala Shakha. And in this Shakha, there are 10 mandalas. That is, these mantras are divided into 10 mandalas. And again, each and every mandala is divided into suktas. So within these 10 mandalas, there are 1028 suktas. And there are many mantras in these suktas. In some suktas, there is only one mantra. And in some suktas, there are tens or scores of mantras. In total, in the Shakala Shakha, there are 10,552 mantras. 10,552 mantras are there in the Rig Veda Samhita of Shakala Shakha. Veda Bhashyakara Sayana wrote exhaustive commentaries on these 10,552 mantras. So for all these mantras, there is Sayana's Bhashya. There are many pros and cons in his Bhashya. Because he was the first scholar who attempted in writing Bhashya to all Vedas. It was his greatness. And Sayana Bhashya is based on Vyakarana and Nirukta. So we can accept that Bhashya. Sayana Bhashya is an eye through which we can view the heart of Veda. That is the plus point. But of course, there are some negative points or minus points. That is, Sayana was a member of the palace. He was a scholar of the palace, and naturally, it was their duty to praise the kings. And those scholars who were members of palace were not supposed to write anything against the kings or against the activities of the kings. So the king was consuming alcohol. The king was running behind women. So in this Ayana Bhashya, for example, in many places we are seeing Indra as a mighty being consuming alcohol and everything. This is a subject matter of debate. Scholars are debating on these aspects. So what I am saying is there were many positive aspects and there are some negative aspects in the Bhashya of Sayama. So in later days, many other scholars wrote commentaries on Rig Veda. And the first scholar we have to consider is Swami Dayananda Saraswati, who established Arya Samajam. He wrote exhaustive commentary based on Vyakarana. And of course, Nirukta. And he applied more logic. But there is plus and minus. The greatness is, we will feel the greatness of Veda when we read the commentary of Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Maharshi Dayananda Saraswati. It will be really take us into the sanctum sanctorum of Veda. There is no doubt in that. That is its greatness. But at the same time, this Maharshi Dayananda Saraswati is not at all accepting anything other than Veda. For example, he is not accepting the validity of Puranas. He is not accepting even the primary validity of Upanishads. Of course, he is accepting Upanishads, but he is not considering Upanishads as the integral part of Veda. And he is not at all accepting the worship patterns which are prevalent in Sanatana Dharma, like temple worship and all. So for that, he is using these commentaries. So there are plus and minus. And then Maharshi Aurobindo wrote commentaries on many mantras. Even though it is not exhaustive, it is not full. For all the 10,552 mantras, he didn't write commentary, but many mantras he commented. His vision is a great yogic vision. That is the greatness. So the inner meaning of mantras as a yogi views that we can get from Aurobindo's commentaries. But the negative aspect is he is viewing Vedas with only that yogic angle. So that harmonious view, comprising all aspects of sadhana, that we won't get from his commentary. So many great acharyas wrote commentaries. We have seen for Yajurveda, there are Mahidhara's Bhashya and Uvada's Bhashya and all. So Rig Veda, these acharyas wrote many commentaries. And those who can read Malayalam, there is a great commentary on Rig Veda written by Chandrasekharan Nair, Sri Varaham Chandrasekharan Nair. It's a great commentary on Rig Veda. It's a very big work, very huge work it is. But he depended mainly on Vyakarana and Chanda, this Nirukta. And he wrote a commentary. And that is the greatest commentary we can get. Of course, there will be many negative aspects in that. But still, I didn't read that fully, but I have seen from here and there. And those mantras, his commentary is exhaustive, and he's considering each and every Shabda in the Veda through the view of Vyakarana and a logic approach he is taking. And a new commentary is coming. There is a great exponent of Veda, Professor Vaidyanathan. Even now he is working hard. At his old age, like a small child, he is running here and there and teaching Veda. He is a great scholar who is in the midst of this society even now, without any bias in gender or anything else. He is teaching Veda. So those who want to learn Veda, even now, you can approach Professor Vaidyanathan. He's a great teacher of Veda in the traditional way, and he is teaching. So he is writing a commentary on these Vedas. And as far as I know, that work is ready for publication. And of course, many other works are there based on Sayana's Bhashya, OMC Nambudiri, OMC Bhattadiri. He wrote an exhaustive commentary. And all these are in Malayalam. In Hindi and English, many commentaries are there. Many. So, materials are there. So please find at least half an hour daily to study at least once this Rig Veda Samhita. Then we will wonder, when we see the greatness of the first brick of our dharmic foundation. It is not the whole of our dharmic foundation. It is a brick. Many bricks put together and cemented together. A strong foundation is built, and on that strong foundation of Vedas, the whole edifice of Sanatana Dharma is built. So when we are saying we are Hindus or we are Sanatana Dharmis, we must at least see what Vedas are, what are written there. So please set apart at least 25 minutes a day. And within 1 year, we will cover all these Samhita portions. And of course, Upanishads. So try to do that. Immense materials are there. And even in the internet, we will get many. So let us come to the topic again. So there are 10,552 mantras divided in or categorized in 1028 suktas. These 1028 suktas, again, they are coming under 10 mandalas. So Rig Veda is divided into 10 mandalas. This 10 mandala again to 1028 suktas. And these 1028 suktas again divided into 10,552 mantras. So the last sukta of Rig Veda, the final sukta, that is 1028th sukta. That is called Aikamatya Sukta or Aikamatya Sukta or Samvada Sukta or Samana Sukta. Many names are there. Some calls it Samvada Sukta. Some calls it Samana Sukta. Some calls it Aikamatya Sukta. Some calls it Aikamatya Sukta. So different names are there. But we have to remember, this is the last sukta. So many things were taught. Many subjects were taught before this. Many devatas were praised. And many intricate aspects connected with the universe, Ishvara and Jiva were discussed. Mainly within the Rig Veda, we will see praises of different devatas. So after doing all these things, the Rishi is concluding. This is the concluding part. So that is the importance of this sukta. It is coming after 1027 suktas. This is the last sukta of Rig Veda. So what Rishi is giving to the world as a concluding message, to keep in mind always and to live accordingly, what it is, that is written in this sukta. So we must learn this. This will give a clear idea regarding the social life or the thought pattern we have to have, and the prayer we have to put before the multitude of devatas, because there are many devatas, and to each and every devatas we will do different prayers. There are different mantras, and the style of praying will be different. Style of conversing with different devatas will be different. But how we are praying to the multitude of devatas, the whole of devatas, that we can see in this sutta. And what type of conviction it gives, what type of social vision it is giving, that we can learn. then it will give a great message. There are only 4 mantras in the Sukta. In this Aikamatya Sukta, there are only 4 mantras. It's a small Sukta. It's a very small Sukta. There is nothing to elaborate because it is written in a most lucid language. Very easy to understand. Very easy to understand. So we can learn that very quickly. There is not that much intricate things to explain because it is very plain. Vedic Rishi is speaking to us plainly. Or in other words, we are praying to the Devatas very plainly. So we can understand very quickly. There is not that much intricate aspects in this sukta. So there are only 4 mantras. And Rishi of this sukta is Angira Samvananaha. Rishi of this sukta is Angira Samvananaha. That is Samvananaha, who came in the lineage of Angiras. So Angira Samvananaha is the Rishi of this sukta. Rishi of a particular sukta means unto him this sukta was revealed. Or who discovered the sukta, who taught the sukta, who imparted the sukta. See, that shows another greatness of the style of Vedic writings. See, different rishis compiled all this. But while compiling, they never forget who gave this first to the world. With all respect, in the beginning of each and every sukta, these great acharyas, great maharshis who compiled all these things wrote the name of that rishi who discovered this. They could have misappropriated. They could have misappropriated. Instead of writing the name of the earlier rishi, they could have written their own name. But see the intellectual greatness, intellectual truthfulness. They are ascribing this sukta to those rishis who discovered and who taught this sukta to the world. And that is why in the beginning of each and every sukta, we will find the name of different rishis. And before studying those sukta or those mantras, we have to respect. We have to pay homage. We have to pay our respect to that rishi. So here the rishi is Angira Samvananaha. Samvananaha. That is the name. Samvananaha. Samvanano Rishi. And he came under the lineage of Angiras. That is Angira Samvananaha. And who is the Devata of this? So after considering or after respecting the Rishi, we have to consider and respect the Devata. Who is the Devata of this Sukta? Before Devata, Chandas is there. Anushtup Trishtubhau Chandasi. There are two Chandas. Within this Sukta, even though there are only 4 mantras, there are two Chandases. One is Anushtup and the other is Trishtup. Anushtup is a meter having 32 aksharas, that is 8 each divided in 4 lines. 4 padas, each pada having 8 letters, 8 aksharas will constitute Anushtup. And 11 aksharas in 4 lines. 11 aksharas in 4 lines. That means 44 aksharas in total. 44 aksharas in total. That will constitute Trishtup. That is the name of that Chandas. So in Anushtup, there will be 32 aksharas. In Trishtup, there will be 44 aksharas divided in 4 lines. So here, 2 Chandasas are there, Anushtup and Trishtup. And who is the Devata of this? Here, Agni Sanjananja Devata. We may think they are 2. No. It is a Devata, not Devate. When there are 2 Devatas, of course, there are many Suktas where there are more than 1 Devatas. When it is the case, it will be written Devate. But here it is Devata. So there is only 1 Devata. Who is that Devata? It is Agni Sanjanaha. Agni Sanjanaha. See, there is a different opinion. Scholars are not unanimous in this aspect. This we are taking according to the Bhashya of Sayana. Of course, we can see the writings of some other scholars also. In our next sitting, we can consider some other scholars' opinion also. But as per Sayana's Bhashya, here Devata is Agni. That is, all the 4 mantras, for all these 4 mantras, Agni is the Devata. And which Agni? Sanjanaha. Agni Sanjanaha. Sanjanaha is one who is knowing well. Sanjanaha means a scholar. One who knows well. That is the meaning of Sanjanaha. So Agni, the scholar Agni is the Devata. Jata Veda is a synonym of Agni. Jata Veda, who is with knowledge. Born with knowledge. Jata Veda, born with knowledge. So born with knowledge, that is the name of Agni. Here also it is said Sanjanaha, with proper knowledge, with the highest knowledge. So the scholar, Agni, is the Devata here. But there is a different opinion. Many scholars are saying here the first mantra in the Sukta, Agni is the Devata, and the other 3 mantras, there are many Devatas. So to the whole multitude of Devatas, to all the Devatas who were praised in the previous Suktas. So taking them together, taking all the Devatas together, the last 3 mantras are working. So this is another opinion. We need not have any confusion within. If we are taking it as Agni, Or if we are taking as many devatas, there is no difference because the message is the same. So we can learn in such a way. If it is Agni, all right. If there are many devatas, all right. Very good. There is nothing wrong in that. The message is the same. There is no difference. So I have seen in our last session, we have seen I am not an expert in this Vedic chanting. So this is a part of Veda, and as per our sampradaya, we have to chant Veda mantras in the traditional way. This is not something to sing. This is not something to read. This is mantra to chant. And that chanting must be in the traditional way. And traditional way, there are different styles. For example, Padapatha is there, Ghanapatha is there. Different types of pathas are there. Different types of pathas. And how it happened, I don't know. But there are different styles of chanting. For example, in Kerala, there is a particular style of chanting. And in almost all other parts of Bharat, there is another style. How it happened, I don't know. But before going to this, to a detailed discussion of these mantras, I am openly saying I am not at all an expert in Vedic chanting. I do not know how to chant in the traditional way. So those who are expert in chanting, not singing, this is not a thing to sing. From them we have to learn. And those who have that talent, they can learn very easily. But those who do not have that talent, people like me, because I tried many days, but failed. It was before sannyasa. In one ashram I was staying, and the acharya of that ashram asked me to learn Vedic chanting. And I said, of course, I will study. And he arranged a great scholar. He also was a sannyasin. And in the morning, that session was decided. And early in the morning, I would go to him, and he will chant in one way, and I will chant in another way. So days passed on, and after some days, he said, it was a curse. It was something like a curse. You will not develop in this world. Whole your life is gone. Whole your life is gone. Then I prostrated before him and asked, if it is so, please give me some job. I will do some seva for you, so that the senior Swami will think we are studying. Then he also became very happy, and he gave me some jobs to wash his dress and like that. So the senior Swami was thinking, this student is studying, and that Swami is teaching, and everybody was happy. So time passed on, and I realized what he said was right, because afterwards I tried to learn this many times, but couldn't. So I am not at all an expert in chanting. So without making any error in reading, we can read. Of course, we can read and we can learn the inner meanings. And the chanting, you can learn from some other experts in chantings. Especially many are there in Bangalore, because many are hearing this from different parts of world. Many are hearing these discussions, but those who are organizing this are staying in Bangalore, and there are many traditional experts there in Bangalore. So you can approach somebody and study how to chant Vedas in the traditional way, but it is not an easy job. So with that perseverance and respect, we can learn. In this session, we can read these mantras and discuss the meanings. I think today we can conclude, and in our next session, we can enter into the Samvada Suktam. So there is no time for question and answers today. We can do it in our next sitting. Namaste. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryangaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.